I want attacking purposeful football all the time. Now we're going to have backs against the wall and we're going to fight, and we're going to fight hard. You've got to show me all the guts and all the determination you've got in your body. You've got to inspire me.
A marvellous kick. That's as good as you'll ever see. And Foot's player back in front.
I don't know about you guys, but if I see one bloke walking out of here, give the pat on the back from people out there for a good effort, I'll spew up.
From inside the centre square. Boyd kicked the goal. Boyd kicked the goal. From inside the centre.
Hey Pack, welcome to 2025, Year of the Dog. I can feel it. This is Danny Boyd. It's a podcast about the most wonderful football club in the known universe and indeed all multiverses. That is the Footscray Football Club, Proprietary Limited. They trade as Western Bulldogs. My name's Danny McGinlay. Tom Boyd. He kicked a couple of goals in the 2016 Grand Final. You might not know him. Big unit. Also played well in a few other games, more than he cares to admit. But he talks about the Bulldogs with me, and that is the premise of this football podcast. Tom Boyd, welcome.
It's great to be here. I've actually just got the highlights from the Mooloolaba Intra-Club match going on at the moment. I'm getting a sort of mix of PTSD, optimism and pessimism all at the same time.
Pessimism is the default setting for football fans at any time of the year.
At this time of year in particular, though, I would argue, because the, let's say, and I'll just go out on a limb here, the North Melbourne, St Kildas, Carltons of the world, just three of a few.
Yeah.
Who at this time of year are convincing themselves that those demons in the back of their head telling me it's just going to be another tough year.
Interesting you say demon.
Yeah, true. Another good one.
Yeah.
They are all sitting here with enough positivism to say, actually, you know what, we could be all right.
Yeah, we're so far removed from the horrors of how how the season ended for 17 of the 18 teams that you can delude yourself that, we'll be right. We'll be right. And also, you've seen, we Bulldogs fans of a certain age, we lived through the horror of the 2014 off-season, which we've got some good players, and then suddenly come out snarling. We have one of the best optimistic years. Even, I remember 1991, we were terrible. 1992, we were awesome. And there was no signs that was going to happen.
No, but then also, you know what the opposite of that is? I was talking to I did my first speaking gig for the year yesterday and spoke to the Camberwell High Year 12s.
Camberwell High,
which is one of those fake public schools, I think, who actually do really well.
When I was in
a
Nicolas Cage film, we filmed at Camberwell High.
Oh, wow.
It was they made it look like an old elementary school in Boston.
There you go.
But, that's the film Knowing, if anyone wants to, where I play cop with dog.
I'm going to go download it on LimeWire later.
It's a good film. I'll tell you what ruins it. I'll have to give away the ending. I'll tell you what ruins it.
I'll download
Tommy
it.
Little went to Camberwell High, and didn't Kylie Minogue?
I'm not sure. But let me say that they were, like, fantastic group of kids. Like, really just... You never know. And I find that, it's a bit hit or miss going into schools and talking. And people go, do you do a lot of schools? It's not really my thing, to be honest.
And what year were the Year 12s this year born in? So, hang on, it's 2025, so 18. So, 2003 they were born. So, they're 13 when you were at the height of your powers on the footy field.
And look, they were awesome. Engaged, listening, asking great questions. Really good to work with. And... as I said, it's real hit or miss when you go into schools. And a lot of people go, hey, do you love doing the school speaking stuff? Do you do a lot of schools? I'm like, I actually don't do as many as what people think. I do much more in businesses and corporates and footy clubs and the like, because frankly speaking, it's difficult to get year 8s and year 9s to sit down and listen to anything.
Agreed.
And year 10s, they're all just starting to become tolerable. And then year 11 and year 12, they're busy. So for this is a specific example. One of the questions that they asked me was really around... I have no idea what we were talking about 5 seconds ago. What were we saying?
We're talking about Nicolas Cage films.
So you completely distracted me with four different segues. No, he was a Hawks supporter. So he was coming in and he goes, how the Hawks going to be good again this year?
What? Oh,
but see, here's the thing. So the opposite of being a St Kilda fan is being a Hawks supporter right at this moment in time, because the St Kilda fans are going, surely we're going to be better than we were the last 25 years. And the Hawks are going... shit, was that a blip on the radar? Like, did we catch a hot streak? Did we get a good few hands last year and go on a bit of a run?
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to back it up? Because they've been down for obviously, 7 or 8 years.
Nowhere near long enough.
Not long enough, no. They were down when I was young, though. That was quite fun. I've got a few memories of them being on the bottom of the ladder.
Yeah.
Them in Richmond and those types. Carlton.
Richmond were on the bottom for most of my childhood.
Yeah.
It was great.
And now they're back. And now
No,
they're
they're
back. Yes, they are. They
The
are.
Tigers?
Yes, they're definitely back to being down near the bottom.
Oh, yeah, right. Sorry, I thought you meant back as in they're back.
Oh, no.
They're tipped to not win a game this year. Isn't it glorious?
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. But yeah, being a Hawk supporter, very, very testy ground right at this time of year because you're going, are we going to be completely, utterly disappointed because our expectations are too high?
No, I don't think Hawthorn fans even they don't think that way. They are just pure entitlement. They have just had, they have 3 peats, and before that they had like 7. If they're not of a certain age, they are told of making 7 grand finals in a row and back to back, and Dunstall and Dermott and all of that malarkey. I don't think they have the self-awareness to worry that it's was a one-off year.
So I'm watching this inter-club game.
Okay.
Bond's going to be okay again this year, I think.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Who's he up against?
Seems like he'll get a few kicks at least.
So there's, a lot of negativity.
You should have seen this highlight. Unbelievable.
Audio medium. 40. There's a lot of negativity coming out of our club at the moment. And we did a Patreon show last week. If you want to get on the Patreon, it's only like $5 a month, and you get bonus episodes, and we get a bit more realistic. So, by the way, if you're listening to this going, I hope they talk about Jamara, it's behind a paywall. Yep. So, if you
also I think at this time of year there's we're right at the precipice of obviously shifting our mindset from all of the stuff that's going on at the club now, of which that, as you mentioned, there's a lot of negativity. There's negativity around Jamara. There's obviously the
Treloar, Liam Jones.
We just had all of these injuries come through. We've also, which by the way,
Norton,
might I add, soft tissue injuries happening in Mooloolaba. Would you believe it? Like, it's a very common thing to happen up there.
Okay, stop you right there. Explain why. I don't know why.
Well, I was just in the middle of about to explain it. Thanks for prompting me.
This is broadcasting.
Because when we go up there, so like in the years that we've always gone up there, there's one of two things happen. One, this is the first really big hit outs from a match simulation point of view. You do like 2 proper quote-unquote games, which is a new stimulus, particularly because you haven't actually done like 20 minutes at a time of match simulation.
Really? What are you doing? What are you doing all
You
January?
do a lot of short, small-sided games. You do a lot of like, might do 10 minutes here or 15 minutes there, but it's rare that you say play a full half of footy up until now because you've still got, another few weeks until the first preseason game, and you don't want to play an extra 3 games before the season starts. You want to try and build up to play the 22 for the year.
Okay.
They're not made. They don't have unlimited energy or
it looks like you
ability to soak in duress in their bodies for
to
the entire
us
year.
Civilians, it looks like you could do that.
Let me maybe explain it in comedian terms.
Great.
Right? You get paid for your gigs.
Yeah.
This is like you saying, I can only do 25 gigs for the year, so I'm going to do 5 that I don't get paid for and hope that the last 25 work out.
But I get better with every gig.
Yeah, but you're not running unless you've got a new bit that I haven't seen. And the other thing that obviously contributes to it up there is that it's often wet at this time of year, so you got soft underfoot. And the softer that it is, the more strain it puts on your calves. With just the way the ankle works, mate.
Really? Not harder ground.
Hard makes your shin sore because you take more shock through the front of your leg. And sure, some people get sore calves running, but the soft tissues, in my experience, always happen with essentially your heels sinking in more, so you're stretching your calf more.
This is good gear. I didn't know this at all.
Yeah. So, and look, there's also that this is real, like, rubber meets the road. If you don't play well in Mooloolaba, like you fail and you're not an established player, you don't get a chance to potentially play round 1. Like, pretty much write yourself off.
Yep.
Which sounds horrible, but that's the way it works because they're trying to obviously build a team towards performing well at the start of the year. So they can't have 15 players going in and out of the top 22. And equally, you're stuck in hotel rooms with your teammates for 11 days, which is just horrible. And there's sand everywhere. Sand everywhere. I can't express how much sand.
So you've been to Mooloolaba before.
I've done 5 Mooloolabas, yeah.
And so what is it, just 24/7 work, or do you get to go to the surf club and do the pub quiz?
Yeah,
or?
when we first went up there, it was very much like work every day. What they changed it to, I think either in the 2nd or 3rd year, was that they basically just take the whole training program and put it up in the heat. So your day and week is pretty much the same. So you'll travel up, say, actually my wife saw them coming back from a hens party or going to a hens party on Friday. So they went up Friday.
The players were going...
At the airport.
Oh, so your wife's going to the hens party.
On Friday
the
last
Bulldogs
week, we're going to
squad
Mooloolaba. Yeah.
Are not going to a hens party. Okay, cool.
Don't rule anything out. They are up in the Sunshine State.
Do you know what you do? You look at you hire this really ripped male stripper, like we're talking like an Adonis, Chris Hemsworth type.
There's a few types of the dogs who could do a good job, you know.
Actually, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's lots to choose from.
But then you're there, and Bevo says, "Now watch him take his clothes off," and you watch it, and you get envious of how good his body is. So you work harder in the gym.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sure that's what's going to work for the boys who are like some of the most shredded people on the earth. I'm like, you're not that good.
It's a rough gig.
What
for
do you
the
mean?
stripper.
This tradie who's come down here to do this?
He's not a real tradie. He's just dressed as one.
So they would have headed up on the Friday, and then they would have probably trained Friday afternoon, light session. Saturday would have been their big session.
Yep.
Sunday they would have done like
What's a big session?
Big session up there would be probably 10 or 12 Ks with all of the skills training and those types of things. It looks like they probably played their game. Given this is 2 days ago and we're recording
It was on the
Wednesday.
Sunday, the game.
Yeah, so maybe they did a light training session on the Saturday and then did the game on the Sunday. So, and then they would have had basically recovery on Monday. They would have gone into like gym and normal training Tuesday, and they'll do a normal week. And then I'd imagine probably Friday, depending on how long they're up there for, they'll do that big orienteering 20K run through the jungle.
Which we've talked about before on the pod. Bevo loves this. It's where he becomes Willy Wonka.
No, well, this is where Bevo decides to run up like a week and a half before this thing is actually like kicks off. So Mooloolaba will start on the Friday or whatever. They'll give him a few days off beforehand. He'll leave a couple of dadays before that so he can get out there and design this thing over a few days.
He loves it.
And it's like, I think it's basically like you imagine the serial killer corkboard with all of the strings attached to it and where they're tracking him and articles and stuff. I feel like that's Bevo's brain. And then he tries to like lay it on the ground, if you know what I mean, so that it sort of gives him some peace from all of the craziness.
He's like the Da Vinci Bevo.
Yeah, angels and demons, sort of symbolism and
or Jack West Jr. for the Matthew Riley fans out there.
yeah, it is really good fun. It's really tough. Like some of the things the ones that we did were just ridiculous in terms of how difficult they were.
What are we talking? Is it like written backwards in Latin? Or
No, well, we're talking that it's a 20-kilometre run through the hills of Noosa National Park.
Yeah.
With backpacks and camel backs, like in terms of water.
Yep.
And you've got to carry rocks and do push-ups and
so is there
find clues.
Yeah, the clues.
And
Now that's
translate the clues into a letter and so on and so forth.
Do you remember any clues? Like this is what
Yeah, well, Domestique was one we did one year, and not a single person got that because no one knew that was a word. So they were like, why is there a Q in this word? This is domestic?
Oh, so you assemble like an anagram.
Yeah,
but now Domestique is the award given within the playing group for
correct,
the best
but that's
player.
when it was brought in. So that was the first time that it was brought in, essentially. And
by the way, who won the Domestique for the prelim and the granny?
Can't remember.
Yeah, it was Tom Boyd, everyone.
So that being said, my point being is that all of this stuff that's going on at the moment, we will be covering, obviously. We're excited to talk about it, but we already have discussed probably the biggest ticket items that is going on in the media, being Tramara and those types of things, on the Patreon last week.
Yes.
What we are now doing is casting our eyes forward, Danny.
Yes.
To a huge announcement.
Two very big announcements, and
One bigger than the other.
Well, hey, they're coming. We're just sizzling them up. But the first one is, we love you, listeners, and we want to preview the season with you. We want to celebrate with you. We want to have some fun. So we're putting on a live show. We did a couple of years ago where we reviewed the 2016 final series.
We had a great turnout.
Oh, it was huge. Yeah, and Comics Lounge, North Melbourne, one of the best comedy clubs in the world, have generously said we can play there. So Saturday, 8th of March. It's the weekend before men's season kicks off.
That's right.
And 2:00. And it's just a live function. It's a party. We're celebrating things. We got some big guests. Have you booked any guests yet, boy?
Well, this is the thing. I was just about to announce.
Oh, you got one?
No. I'll be sending them out today, but I wanted to make sure that we obviously launched it first.
Yeah, fair enough.
And from my perspective, we discussed many different formats, but I think what we've agreed upon in this semi-on-air meeting is that the guests that come, we're going to celebrate a specific part of their career.
Yes.
On this big screen and talk through it with them.
That's
so
a great
we can
idea.
basically put
like
together...
front bar.
Yeah, like you can imagine if we were Sydney supporters, you'd bring up Lance Franklin and you'd do the time he kicked 1,000 goals.
Yes.
That would be a perfect example. But we obviously have players that are much better than Lance Franklin with a much
Hell
better
yeah.
story and much
Hell
better
yeah.
history. And so we are going to do that with some incredible guests that we have lined up, which we're confirming at the moment.
Yep.
We're also going to talk through the season ahead. We're hoping to get some proper journalists to give us some indications
Oh, okay.
of what
Yeah, you
exactly he's going for.
you wanna book-
We've got a couple. Mark Stevens would be a good person.
Oh,
to bring
hell,
along.
that's a way better idea.
Yeah.
I was going to say Tony Jones because he had nothing else on.
Get him in there.
Peter
with a bunch
Laylor,
of-
he's free.
with a bunch of fiery Bulldogs fans. That'd be fantastic. So we've got a few tickets. Well, there's lots of tickets
There's
available.
lots of, but we've already sold a few.
Yeah.
Like the
People are
Patreons,
excited for this. I'll tell you what.
They've started snapping up. So get involved. So yeah, come down. It'll be a couple of hours. It's going to be a pretty much a whole afternoon thing. There's no
Come
other.
chat to us. Come chat to Danny. Come chat to me.
We got some merch, and come down, have a meal. Grab some beers. The Comedy Lounge have given us a very good deal because last time you guys came, you had a steak, you had some calamari. They make money off their food and beverage. So please come down, bring your Bulldog supporting mates, bring some non-Bulldog supporting mates. Just come down. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we would love to see you there. Is there anything else that we might be... I mean, yeah, we're going to be showing some highlights on the big screen. There may be someone very high up at the Bulldogs attending.
Ooh. One of the big wigs.
One of the the biggest wig, potentially. Anyway, that's all we're going to say for now. But hey, if you... Also, like, we're over a month away. If you have any guests that you want, let us know. Hit us up on the socials. We're a democratic show here. So if there's anyone specifically you would like, or any highlights or maybe a quarter of a very famous game you'd like to watch, let us know. We can do these things.
Yes, and I think also once we do announce who these people are and you do decide, don't be afraid to hit them up on social media and pester them and tell them that they need to do this.
Yes.
Ring them, call them, don't turn up at their house.
Well, okay, if we're going to do that, one way you can... I did ask, there is a former Bulldogs captain who lives near me, and I've seen him at Coles a few times. And anyway, but if you want to ring up his ABC breakfast show and tell him he needs to do it, that would be great.
We're also going to do one incredibly important thing, which really leads us into the second announcement, which is that we, and maybe Danny, you're best to announce this, but let me say, I was thinking through some of the biggest highlights of my career.
Okay.
One of which was the first banner that I had for my first ever game.
For the Dogs or
the
for the
Dogs.
Giants?
For the Dogs.
Oh, yeah. So this was round 1, 2015.
Against West Coast.
Yep.
And I believe from my recollection it went something like, if you think Tom Boyd cost the heaven and the earth, you should try and buy a coffee in Perth.
Yeah.
Fantastic start to my career at the Bulldogs. I knew things...
Did you read it?
Yeah, I think so. To be honest, I was probably a bit stressed. Yeah. But we won, and I kicked
did
goal in
win.
the last quarter, so who
Yes.
cares? And this at this specific live show, we not only want to present to you some of the perhaps more lewd banners that we're thinking about for the year ahead, but also to make the announcement that Big Danny McGinlay is going to be back this year, back in a big way.
The Bulldogs contacted me a couple of weeks ago and asked if I would be keen to do the banners again, and of course, I've said yes, and it's a great honour to be back. We're gonna. It's really exciting. I'm back. This is huge.
Yeah, I'm very excited too. And given that this is the first time we're back in a couple of years, I think it's on my part. It's my responsibility to basically make Danny feel uncomfortable and say, "Hey, have you thought about any that we could potentially do for North Melbourne round 1?" Because I'm sure there's a few that might not get through the screening process, but.
Yeah, I got to say, so when they said, hey, do you want to do the banners again? I'm like, yes, of course. My dream job back. I love this. And then I went, who's round 1? North Melbourne. Because, look, North have been underperforming for so long. Any joke I make is going to feel like punching down.
Yes.
It's just like it feels cruel. Like the whole thing, the best banners you do is when you're having a dig at the big clubs, your Hawthorns, your Collingwoods, your West Coasts, and
Or the suburbs that they're in.
yeah. Well, and mostly I'm always teasing the fan base pretty much, like because I never never attack the players. You guys suffer enough. You're in pain. You're not paid enough to have you play the ball, not the man. But the fan base, I'm a fan. I'm happy to slag off Richmond supporters, and I know comedically, there are Melbourne supporters that aren't toffs. I know there's Collingwood supporters that aren't feral. Hell, I bet there's even a Port Adelaide supporter that's attractive. However, I'm going to lean into the cliche and make fun of it because this is a Melbourne and Australian thing.
It's a clear undercurrent of what the AFL is actually all about, because as much as we're a national league now, most of the clubs have obviously come from either Melbourne and spread their wings and headed elsewhere, or they are essentially funded by the Melbourne fraternity, like the new expansion clubs.
Yep.
Or in some cases, they're obviously representative of the exact same dynamic that exists in, say, South Australia and in Perth, where, to be honest, these are local footy clubs who have made it to the big time.
Yep.
And they don't particularly get along with each other that well because they've got that spirit in them that this is competition.
Yes.
And, there's two ways you can look at competition. You can either try and be the best to beat the best, or you can push your opposition down a little bit just to make it a bit easier.
And look, we don't have the financial wherewithal to rise above, so I'm happy to bring them down to our level.
Exactly right. Mate, we're thrilled to have you back. I tell you what, there were some that just always stood out to me as incredibly important. And as much as the games always reminded me, my memories of the games are so positive, so many of those memories are intertwined with the actual banner from the day, like the game against the prelim against GWS.
Yes, our club was
probably my favourite one.
Yeah, that's the one people bring up with me the most. I guess that's like if I was Pearl Jam, that's my even flow. Like I think there's some better songs out there, but that's the one people want me to play.
Yeah, it's like the one. It's the song that you played at Wembley. You know?
Yeah.
You didn't play it in a bar in bloody back alley of Brisbane.
Yeah, I mean I loved all my banners equally, but our club was born in blood and boots, not in AFL focus groups.
Just a nice little zing to it,
And it was perfect for that day because we were there playing the Plastic Fantastics in their pretend home ground, and it was a magical day. And you played pretty well that day as well.
I also
my friend.
make mention that based on the recent experiences with the Giants, I reckon that their social media prowess was born out of those types of moments. Because they take it really well now. They make all sorts of jokes on Twitter. They're great at ribbing the other clubs.
Yes.
I think that may have come from that moment in time. That could be in the genesis.
I hope so, because the one thing, I do love footy, I love the AFL, but so many people take it too damn seriously. And I get it, there's a lot of people's livelihoods at stake, but it is a game. We got to have fun with it. And this is the other thing, like when I write a banner, GWS had a dig at me. The next time we played them, they said something like, focus groups might have given us our name, determination gave us our game. And I'm like, that's
lame.
Of course, yeah, a little bit lame. But I love that they fought back.
Yeah, I agree.
love the bite back. And I hope that in the future, when I'm doing these banners, clubs have a dig back, and some people in the media just, tut themselves about it. But
and here's the other thing. It shouldn't be reserved to, at that stage, we were two of the best clubs in the competition. It should be not reserved for that. It should be spread across the land because let's be honest, let me rewind 3 or 4 years ago when, I don't know, North Melbourne were playing West Coast in the last couple of games of the year.
Yep.
There's no meaning to that game whatsoever except who was going to get the number one pick.
yes.
It would be nice if there was a, throwback ribbing, at least so the fans could go, at least we're winning in the banners, boys.
Absolutely. Man,
I think it gives the game meaning that perhaps might not have any.
Collingwood, after I didn't do the banners in 2018, Collingwood took over. And I got a full credit to the Collingwood guy. A few people thought it was me. It wasn't me. I think it's a lot harder job to make Collingwood funny because people hate Collingwood. No one hates the Dogs. We're everyone's second favourite team.
We're not as popular as we used to be because we did win a few games. So.
Yeah, but sure. But much better. But they had a great banner once when they were playing, I believe, North. And it was just something, we want finals, you want draft picks, act accordingly.
Oh, very good. So all in all, mate, I think to sum it all up, it's absolutely fantastic that you're back. I'm absolutely thrilled for the opportunity that at this live show on March 8th,
Yes.
2025,
2 o'clock.
we might be able to do some of the funnier banners that probably won't make the print.
Well, I used to tweet the rejected banners, and I know a couple of them got me in trouble, so I won't be making them public. But my brain is always a bit naughty, and I do come up.
You
with
are a
some-
comedian. This is literally
I'm
what
a
you've
comedian.
trained your brain to do for 20 years. so-
Absolutely, and look, there was talk of we're playing the friendly match. That's the wrong thing. The pre-season match against Essendon.
Essendon, yep.
And I was thinking about a banner, and because we're playing at Whitten Oval.
Yes.
I wanted it to be Whitten Oval, home of the champions of Victoria since 1924, which is where, a callback to 100 years ago. They were the premiers of the VFL, we were premiers of the VFA. We played them for the title of champions of Victoria. That title has never been taken from us.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And also, not to mention, Mark's obviously the 100-year reunion or anniversary of the club this year, the celebration, the 100-year, which is, the club's a lot older than that.
No,
How
we're
does that-
1883. It is a weird, we're 100 years in the big league, but it wasn't the big league then. We just changed leagues and it became the big league because we were in it. It's weird. I guess what do we call it? It's not the anniversary?
No, I think they're calling it they're calling it the 100 years of the club.
100? No, they can't be doing that.
Well, 100-year celebration, perhaps, of being in the league.
Anyway, I'm sure that Patrick Horan, the media manager, his communications is yelling at I told you what to call it!
I think, look, that stuff really excites me. As I said, I think on the Patreon, I was lucky enough to go to the 70-year reunion of the 1954, and that was grand final and premiership. It was awesome. It was awesome. Just
God, I know you sold it on the Patreon, but can you tell me the story of the guy who, like you, kicked the final goal in 54?
Yeah, so I think his name is Doug Reynolds, I think.
Hey, did you kick the final goal 16? I thought Picken did.
No, second last goal.
Second
both
last
of us,
goal.
yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
And I spoke to him afterwards. This guy was sitting up on stage and he was just hilarious, telling all these stories of like what happened after the game. They tried to go out. They went to Festival Hall. It was locked. They couldn't get in. They went back to the club, so they ended up just going to bed. And mate, this guy he would have been 97 or something. I can't remember exactly how old he was. 97, 98, like old man.
Yeah.
And I spoke to him afterwards and I said, great to see you guys. Not many of us, Tommy. And I'm like, I said, apparently we both kicked the second last goal, and we had a good laugh about that. And I said, on stage they said to him, do you still think about it? You still have memory? He goes, I think about it every night before I fall asleep.
Yes. What a
From
champion.
a 21, I think he was 21 or something when that happened.
Damn
or
straight.
23. So maybe that gives a few more clues to the age of the man. But very excited to obviously set up the season. There is some interesting news coming out at the moment with injuries and those types of things.
Yep.
It's the 100-year celebration, let's call it that.
Yes.
To make everyone happy. We'll have just played, I believe, the practice game the week before.
Yes, so that's not this weekend, the weekend after at Whitten Oval. I'm going along. Are you going to come along, or are you?
Maybe.
You probably got a corporate gig somewhere.
I don't actually know what I'm doing that weekend. But
gonna
I
be
think
great.
all in all, it will be an absolute celebration of the year ahead, and you should all get down and have an absolute wonderful afternoon. And we
Or
can
even
talk through
just for the nostalgia. Oh, right. Sorry, I was
past.
still talking about the exhibition game.
the past, the future,
The
the present.
We'll just have a laugh because look, that's what we're here. This is our tribe.
That's right. And at this moment in time, we will literally go into March 8th at the Comics Lounge as the number one team on the ladder. Admittedly equal first, but
We're all. My son has a whole thing of like, it's really unfair because we always start the season bottom last.
yeah.
Because it's in alphabetical order.
Western, which, what is a West Coast? It's
There's all these calls to change the name back to Footscray, but I think we should change it to Footscray.
Aaron's Western
Yeah,
Bulldogs.
we renamed Footscray's Aaronsville. Aardvark, Adamsville.
Oh, very good.
Or
Very
whatever.
good. So we'll continue to promote on socials, all of that
Yes.
type of stuff. We'll make sure that all the details are out there. We probably should briefly talk about the state of affairs at the club and the players and some of the news coming out of Mooloolaba before we get started.
Right.
Because I think there's a really positive silver lining from what I
Yeah,
can tell.
the two things I want to talk about is, look, Treloar being injured is devastating. He's an All-Australian last year. However, when it was pointed out, I was texting a few mates just going, it's Sanders time. Riley Sanders was, there's so much optimism about him last year that even round one, I went to buy a badge, sold out. And so, and Ed Richards found another gear last year. So I'm not too worried about our midfield. And Sanders got like 33 touches, which was, I'm so excited. I think he's going to be brilliant. But the big call, and I know that a few of the powers that be from the club listen to this, and there's talk about, there's one space left on the list. People are talking about Dom Brew. But I got to say, like, Dom, I'm sure you're a good footballer, and I'm saying this as someone who knows nothing about football, Crowley, his moustache must be a Footscray moustache.
I think we were talking.
Braden Crowley must play for the Bulldogs.
We were talking about before the taping started today that you've obviously gone through phases now, sitting down with me for a few years about learning about the actual way that football works and the club and how the team works.
I'm now fully in the Dunning-Kruger effect. I realise I know nothing.
But I will say that you've just shown that you know something, because I think the exact train of thought, which I think is genuinely the most positive story of the preseason so far, based on the limited knowledge that we actually have, is that with Treloar out, like, my big criticism or concern for the club in the next 2 years is essentially the ageing midfield. We have 3 guys who are in there, 2 of whom are obviously had significant injury issues, being Adam and Tom.
Yep.
And at some stage, the next injury is going to come, and that'll mark the end of their best days as footballers. Yes. Unfortunately, that's just the way the world works. Yes. And they have been incredible players for us for a long period of time.
Time is the fire.
And the scary part has always been, well, who's going to actually take their place? Who's going to become the next generation of superstars to now take some of the weight off Bontempelli, because we don't need Bont sitting in there now, one out with a bunch of guys who are inexperienced and underperforming, because they'll just smash him and smash him and smash him. The last 3 or 4 years of his career will be really disappointing. The alternative is you get to watch him play and go out into the twilight like Scott Pendlebury, just getting better and better because he's got support around him, and he now doesn't have to be the number one midfielder all the time. He gets to use his leadership. He doesn't need to be quicker or stronger or faster than anyone. He just gets to be Bont.
Yep.
And that sounds fantastic, because he could play till he's 40 if that happens.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be awesome?
He doesn't get injured. He's got all of the skills and game wherewithal that he can sort of manipulate the field around him, and then you get a couple of whippersnappers in there to do all the hard work.
So Bont's like 29 now, 28,
He'll be 30 this year, and I think November or October.
So if he plays 10 more years, he might actually get a Brownlow vote.
He might win a Brownlow, potentially.
This is a dig at how little Brownlow votes he gets, considering how much he dominates.
Marcus, 34 touches, 5 goals and 11,000 tackles.
Nah.
One vote.
Lachie Neale, watch the game on TV.
But I think, so I just watched some highlights, as I've said a couple of times. Riley Sanders looks quicker.
Yes.
Looks more confident. Looks like he's fitting into the midfield. And now there is a gaping hole that needs to be filled for at least what it sounds like a few weeks, which also, not to add sort of, an umbrella to a brainstorm here, Adam Treloar saying that they're going to be out for the first couple of weeks of the season means that's a bad calf injury, because we're a long way away.
Yeah.
And the same with Jonesy.
Well, they said 9 weeks originally.
Which is basically like a tendon issue.
Okay.
That's not good.
Here we go. Dr. Boyd's in.
Well, a calf injury is one of about 3 things. It is a 1 to 2 weeks, 10-day calf. Ever heard of those? They always come up. 10 days.
No, they're in the restaurant. That's the veal.
All right. And then there's the sort of 3 to 4 weeker, which is like a grade 1 to 2 tear, which is pretty good, proper tear. And then there's anything above 6 weeks is like either near the tendon, it's a really big bleed, big tear, which is pretty uncommon.
Yeah.
So not a great set of news. Also, calves are called the old man injury.
Yeah.
Which it scares me a little bit. Now, Adam at least is incredibly professional, and I'm sure will work very hard to get back to playing good footy. And I expect him to be out there early in the year. But basically what I'm saying is we've got a 6-week patch here or a 10-week patch here where it's Riley Sanders' spot to lose by the
Damn
sounds.
straight. Sanders time. And I'm confident.
Yep.
I think he's great. So if Treloar's out, our midfield against round 1, North Melbourne, would be Bont, Libba, Sanders, Ed.
Rich Ed, I'd imagine.
Yeah, mate,
not sure where Matt Kennedy fits into the equation.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. But that's a nice problem to have.
It's a bit. Yeah, it's obviously a bit younger, but Ed's in the prime of his career. He'd be 26 or 27 now. They're not small boys, but there's sort of this weird dynamic in football where you play off being strong and being able to bully people around the stoppage versus being slow and getting murdered on turnover.
Yeah.
So I think we've got a sort of pretty good balance on that. Bont's a strong inside player who obviously can do both. Libba's a very, very strong around the football player. I haven't seen any highlights from him so far, though, I will say.
No, I think he's been having a light pre-season. That's just from what I'm seeing. I'm not down at the club.
You're back into the you think you know what's going on stage.
No, I'm openly
swings
admitting.
and roundabouts, Dunny. Swings and roundabouts.
This is why I'd say I know nothing about football. You make me lose confidence.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Here's the fact. I may be being diplomatic at the moment and actually considering the reality of the situation at the Bulldogs. Come March 8th, no reality.
Damn straight.
No pessimism or optimism.
Damn straight. Yeah.
This will be us basically me coming in and saying it's $1.01 odds, unbackable favourites for the flag. And also, we should have won all the flags in the past. Let's talk to all the guests who could have won them and should have won them.
Yes.
I'm excited.
March 8 is a full, I think, let's also advertise it as it's a safe space. Like, we as football fans open ourselves up to, criticism for going the early crow. Comics Lounge, 26 Errol Street, North Melbourne, on March 8. For that few hours, safe space. Lid off.
Very,
Let
very
the confetti...
The inner sanctum.
Yes. And look, hey, we may be wrong. We're probably wrong. But let's enjoy it.
Very excited. Very excited.
There's also a great article. I sent it to Boydie, but he didn't read it. Of Pythagorean wins. Like this is the dark days of February. Fox Sports are grabbing at anything, but pretty much it was a Moneyball style article, which just explained that we should have been second last year. We will be second this year, and it's the Swans who are on top, and we can beat them in a grand final. Anyone can beat them in a grand final.
Apparently, yeah. Let's make it a 5, Pete. So make sure that the big Cox comes in and continues the tradition that's been in place for the last 10 years.
Gone from horse to Cox.
And we're all 5-year-olds. I'll tell you what. Well, strongest Pythagorean win predictions. North Melbourne, 2013, 10. This is so dumb.
Oh, it's completely dumb, but read it, enjoy it. You'll absolutely love it, everyone. Is there anything else that we need to... Do you have any other...
This person should be arrested. This doesn't make any sense.
Hey, would you rather statistical nonsense, or would you rather a cane courts? I've heard that they've got to sack the entire group, and Bontempelli's knees blown out, and what's he done?
It honestly might as well be the same thing.
What are you talking about?
Matt, statistical year-on-year analytics are the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's not how it works, but it's a bit different in leagues where there's real rigidity in positions, like soccer, I would say, and in say NFL and basketball, it makes more sense. You got 18 blokes on the field, plus 4 on the bench for each team. Too many things there's too many variables. It's a terrible, terrible sport to predict who's going to be good, except for the fact that I know the Bulldogs are winning the premiership in 2025.
There we go. We've got it now.
See you all there, March 8th. We will be promoting the hell out of it. If you have any questions, requests, suggestions, please push it through our socials. If you subscribe to the Patreon, much more likely for us to read them, deal with them. We will be having on-air meetings reflecting on the feedback from the Patreons in the lead up to this show every second week, as we have been doing so for a number of years. And, congratulations to Danny. Bulldogs bannerman once again.
Give my childhood to that roar of the red, white and blue sea, and the knowledge that you had to love the Bulldog boys and me. 20 years on, I feel that longing hanging in September air. But the reason I go every week is to pretend you're still there. And they will find the glory one day, and I will throw it at your feet. It's a long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets. Long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets.